Hello friends. So this is the fourth video in this series on how to write a paper and scientific publication. We have talked so far about the general introduction on how to write a paper. Then in the second video, we approached the portion of writing the method section of a manuscript. And in the third video, we discussed how to write the observations and results section of the paper. So as I said, when you have completed a study, it's easiest to write the method section because you're already aware and familiar with what you have done in the study. And since you've already got the results, it is also very easy to write the results portion of the paper next. Now comes the more difficult or the more interesting part in which you're writing the introduction of the paper. Generally, when you read a manuscript, the introduction comes first. But when you are writing, it makes more sense to write the introduction after you have written the methods and the observations of the paper. So in this video, we are going to discuss how to approach the introduction section of a manuscript. So the introduction generally talks about a problem statement. You start by writing, why is this study important? You want the readers to know why you did this study. What prompted you to do this study? What is the problem statement? Means what is the problem that you have studied? Is it really a problem? What are the mortality statistics in your country? What are the mortality statistics in the world? What is the morbidity statement? How does it affect the individuals? How many people it has affected? How does it impact their quality of life? How does it impact their productivity? So all this comes into the problem statement. You want to describe to the reader that the problem that you're addressing in this study is really important, and this is how you lay down the problem statement with the numbers and figures of statistics around the world, the incidence rates, the prevalence rates in the country and in the world in the first part of the introduction, which is the problem statement. Then you talk about what is already known on this subject. You want to tell the readers what is already been studied, or what is already done, what is the evidence base that already exists. Then you identify what are the gaps in literature, what are the things that are not known. And after this, you present your hypothesis, that what do you think may be happening. And then finally, in the last portion of the introduction, you always write the study aims. So what do you want to study in this research or in this paper? What is the aim of your paper? So that is the structure of the introduction section of a paper. In the problem statement, you describe what is the gravity of the problem. You can describe that by stating what is the incidence, what is the prevalence, what is the local scenario, what's happening in the world, what is the impact of the problem, what is the morbidity and what is the mortality, how does it impact the quality of life, how does the impact on the individual. Please remember, it's the problem statement or the opening statement of your paper which will set the tone of the paper itself. You write what is already known, what are the gaps, and by this time the reader should be able to actually guess your hypothesis. You should be able to know what you were trying to arrive at, and then you certainly always define the aims and objectives very clearly in the last sentence of the paper. So that's the general crux of writing the introduction. So please remember, start with the problem statement, the morbidity, mortality statistics, the incidence rates, the prevalence rates in the world. You talk about what is already known, what are the gaps in literature, what is the hypothesis, and what this study aims to do. That's the last and the most important portion. So your introduction should end by describing what are the aims of your study. If a reader wants to find out what are the aims of your study, he does not need to read that because it's a standard format. He will directly be pulled to the last paragraph of your introduction, and by reading that, he should come to know what are the aims and objectives of your study. So Good. Thank you for listening so far. And with this, we come to an end of this fourth video in which we talked about the introduction of a manuscript. In the next section or in the next video, we will be taking up how to write the discussion section of a manuscript. Stay tuned.